Please welcome Natalie Douglas, Board Vice Chair of Global Genes and CFO of Healthcare at Home.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening at this very special event, the 2017 Rare Champion of Hope Awards. The last few days of the Rare Patient Advocacy Summit is a time where the Global Genes mission really comes to life, supporting, educating, and inspiring patients from all over the world. This evening's event is also a very special event to us in the community because it's a time where we join together to recognize those who are inspiring, innovating, and the important drivers of change in the rare disease community. The community is made up of true heroes and leaders, and tonight we're here to recognize those champions who've gone beyond their disease, who are building things, creating awareness, and showing the world what great looks like, with passion, perseverance, and courage, often in the face of great adversity. We thank you for joining us. We have a lot to talk about, and our champions have a lot to say. And I need some help. So here to help us, I'd like to introduce you to our MC for the evening. She's no stranger to global genes or rare disease. You may know her from her roles in Arrow, Supernatural, Teen Wolf, and Chicago PD. She's a special friend of the team and our community, and we thank her for her ongoing support. Please welcome to the stage the Global Genes Rare Ambassador, Madison McLaughlin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Natalie, and thanks to all of you for being here tonight. You guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is my favorite thing I look forward to every single year. I'm so happy to be here for my 3rd year. Anyone else been here 3 years? Raise a hand. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, let's get back to the script, Madison. Let's stay focused. Okay. Okay, I know a lot of you, I've seen a lot of familiar faces already that I've met at previous summits and our Denim Dash 5K and our Carousel of Dreams at my favorite place on the world, Disneyland. But there are a few of you I don't know yet, so I'll go ahead and just say a little bit about myself, why I'm here, if you're wondering who's this Hollywood person standing on a stage talking to me. I have 3 sisters. They're all right there, and they are all better than me in every single way that is possible. And 2 of them have a rare disease. Now, I know that that is familiar for a lot of people in this room. You know, we know the struggle of, I mean, it was 12 years for us of, you know, going all over the country to see doctors and specialists and having our own table at the hospital cafeteria and seeing nurses more than we see our own family members. And I know that that's something that a lot of you can relate to. So when I heard about what Global Genes was doing, I was so proud to be here, especially because, well, my sister's diagnosis is HBSL, and it was really the whole reason we have a diagnosis is because of the works of Dr. Vandiver, Dr. Vander Knapp, and Dr. Ryan Taft, who has been here with us the last couple of years. I'm so excited that he's here. We get to have a little powwow every year. I'm so excited to get to see him. But because of that, because of our story, I know, like so many of you, the challenges that rare diseases can pose, and I'm so thankful to Nicole and for everyone at Global Genes for having me here every year. You guys, I'm so happy to be here with all of you. This makes me so happy. I'm gonna cry. Okay, stop. Now, enough about me. Before I start crying, I'm going to introduce 2 incredible women to the stage. Shelley Bowen and Lindsay Groff from the Barth Syndrome Foundation. They will be presenting the Rare Champion of Hope Medical Care and Treatment Award. Please help me welcome to the stage Shelley Bowen and Lindsay Groff.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that. I felt kind of, yeah, that was fun. I want that to happen every morning when I wake up from now on. Yeah. So my name is Shelley Bowen, and I'm the founder of the Barth Syndrome Foundation. And I'm going to introduce Lindsay in a second. But first of all, I want to do this little history lesson with everyone. So we started out in 2000, we became a nonprofit. But before that, I had lost a son that had Barr syndrome, and my quest was, I never wanted to bury another son. So I started looking for somebody who could help me. And to me, a diagnosis mattered. And when I was told by a doctor, it doesn't matter what you call it because you're not going to do anything different, I was lost. So here's the little history thing. There's this thing called card catalogs in the library and buses. So I'd schlep to the medical library and look up articles, anything I could find about any symptom. And in 1999, I found this article that was written that said, this disease matters and it's underdiagnosed. So the fact that it's too rare to exist, for the first time in my life, I knew I had a partner. So I started doing what every mom would do, and I started stalking the doctor that wrote the article and said, we're gonna get together and we're gonna bring people from all over the world and we want you to be there. And you're gonna have to pay for it too because we don't have any money, we're not a nonprofit. But everybody that you wrote about, the people you really care about, they're gonna be here. So he sent somebody else. And that was good, thank you for that. So I did what every good mom would do, and I started stalking him again, and I said, we got another meeting going, and we've got a conference coming up, so we want you to come. So this is where I have to put glasses on because I'm getting a little older now. So we all know that we've all heard at some point, if you're an advocate, that diagnosis is just a name. Those of us who know the quest and that journey, it's purgatory. You're in the dark, you don't know how to fight it. It's like a fire. If you tell a fireman, put a fire out, they're gonna wanna know what is causing the fire first. They're not gonna put alcohol on something, they're not gonna put water on an electrical fire. You need to know what is causing it. So a diagnosis matters. Colin Stewart believed a diagnosis mattered. He went throughout the hospital to ensure that children who had died and children who went without a diagnosis, by God, they got a diagnosis. That's a good man right there for you. He believes when we were told that it's a shame that your child has such a rare disease because no one's ever going to want to do research on it, they were wrong. They were wrong. We have wonderful researchers. Colin Stewart is leading a clinical trial for us called CardioMan in the UK, and we have a clinical trial in the UK because of him. When we were told that nobody cares enough to give us a clinic, Colin Stewart was the man who started clinics and made sure that our children saw the best doctors available in all disciplines and received the best possible care. They do care, and Colin Stewart cared. When we were told that nobody cared enough to give to us, how are you ever going to raise enough money to support this organization because it's just so rare? We have parents who went out there and raised money. And we're starting another clinical trial. We have another clinical trial going on in the United States, but Colin saw to it that his clinic would be sustainable to see the children in Europe that needed care, even though he's getting ready to retire in 2017, that's another story. But he saw to it that that was taken care of. It wasn't too rare to care. He's been there for families whenever they've been in need. Whenever somebody would reach out to him and say, my son is sick, can you please talk to me? Because nobody understood it. It's a very complicated disease. Colin told me, I am willing to speak with any family that you have, but what you need is to grow the base of experts. You need to find other doctors because one day I'm going to retire and you need to grow the base of experts up. And he taught me very early on the importance of growing your organization because you need sustainability. And this is where Lindsay comes in. As a founder of an organization, I think it is our duty to ensure that an organization is sustainable throughout until there is no longer a need for our cause and our mission. As a founder, we need to have a succession plan. We need somebody else who can come in. We need to recognize our shortcomings and bring somebody in and be void of ego. We need executive directors. We need bright minds. As a founder, I am more than happy to introduce Lindsay Groff, who is our director, our executive director of the Barr Syndrome Foundation. Thank you.
Tonight, we are absolutely honored to welcome to the stage this year's Champion of Hope in Medical Care and Treatment, all the way from England, Dr. Colin Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. How do I follow that? I really often try to stay out of the limelight, so this is all acutely embarrassing. But I'm really deeply honored that Shelley, who I've long been an ardent fan of, and Lindsay have come here tonight to support me. It means a great deal to me. She's already given most of my speech away, so I don't really know. But essentially, it's true that I've decided to retire at the end of this year. I promise you that I'm not retiring from any interest in Barr syndrome. I'm fully intending to do as much or more research than I've done in the past on it. And I have no doubt that I'm not going to get away from the Barr Syndrome Foundation anytime soon. Correct? Correct. But you know how it is, retirement makes you sometimes think back and become very reflective. And also, being honored with this award has made me think back and think who were the people who impressed me, were my heroes, who mentored me, who kind of made me what I am in terms of the way that I manage this and other rare diseases these days. And I think there's a whole series of them, and I just want to go through them. Now, I think when you're doing these sorts of speeches, it's always really easy to forget your family, so I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm actually going to start with my father, and this is going to sound a bit lateral, but here goes. My father was an industrialist. He actually managed power stations, and he managed a whole series of power stations that he took over when they were often surrounded by grey slag heaps, and they were fairly unattractive places. And he was a kind of eco-warrior of his time. And he greened them up and did things like build tennis courts and bowling greens and gardens for his workers. And he did some truly astonishing work. But one of the things that he impressed upon me was that everybody in an organization mattered, every single person. There was nobody whose opinion didn't matter and who you couldn't learn from if you asked the right questions and listened in the right way. I hope that the people who work with me at the Royal Hospital for Children in Bristol can actually see some of the influences that he had on me, because I was so impressed with how he managed those stations, and indeed he won many prizes for the work that he did. So I thank him for that. As I also thank my mother for teaching me to write good English, which she spent a lot of time doing, and I think a lot of the stuff that I've written in terms of grants and papers I actually owe in many respects to her. And then I've got a long-suffering team at home. My lovely wife Chris is here tonight. Matthew and Claire are at home. They have had so many disappointments over the years, burnt dinners in the oven, missed appointments, things postponed, interruptions on holidays. Even this last holiday, this summer, I was on a crazy golf course in Portugal on a long conversation about how to manage a child with the disease. So it's all been a bit crazy, but I thank you for your patience. It's really meant a huge amount to me. I want to talk about some professionals who really, really made a difference in my development of my skills in genetic diseases. And the grandfather of those was Hugo Moser. Anybody who knows anything about adrenal leukodystrophy will know about Hugo. He was a great man. I became a consultant in 1994, and I went to a conference that he spoke at. And I didn't realize that one person could know so much about a single disease as he knew about adrenal leukodystrophy. I found it truly awe-inspiring. And I was, again, honored when I really became a friend of his in later years. And he even once came across to Bristol with his lovely and wonderful scientist's wife, Anne, and took us, myself and a colleague, out to lunch one day. It was a 4.5-hour Sunday lunch where he tried to explain to us why newborn screening was important in adrenoleukodystrophy. I don't want to steal somebody's thunder. That's a theme for later in the evening, but it's incredibly topical that there's somebody who's going to be honored tonight who has that interest, and it's wonderful to see young people carrying on the baton of that, and boy, would Hugo be proud. There's two professors that influenced me, sadly both taken from us young. Ed Wraith from Manchester Children's Hospital, who was a genius at mucopolysaccharides disorders and ran clinics from hotel rooms all over the world. And Tony Oakhill, who taught me all that I know about bone marrow transplantation, was one of the inventors of safe, modern, unrelated donor transplantation, which is used in many metabolic diseases. And he worked with his very close colleague, Jackie Cornish, again, a big influence on me, and now our National Director of Paediatrics in the UK. They both persuaded me back in 1994 to apply for a consultancy to transplant metabolic and genetic diseases. That was funded by Professor Jack Hobbs from Westminster Children's Hospital, who in 1980 invented blood stem cell transplantation for metabolic diseases. He just thought the whole concept up. And so his organization funded a lot of my early research, development of a laboratory, the first 5 years of my salary, I should say, and also bought me a sequencing machine, which was delivered late in 1996, just months after the TAS gene that causes Barth syndrome was discovered in Italy. And just then, a boy came through our hospital who sounded like he might have Barth syndrome. He'd lost an infant brother, he had weak muscles, he had low white cells. And so we sequenced him with great hope this was going to be our first big bust on our machine. And we couldn't find a mutation of the gene. It's an amazing loop, but 20 years later, the Barth Syndrome Foundation ran one of their amazing biennial conferences and invited a doctor from Austria to talk about an organic acid that comes out in the urine in Barth syndrome. And she talked about the other diseases that could cause it. And there was one she described 1 year earlier, and that turned out to be what that boy had had 20 years before. And it was only because of the Barth Syndrome Foundation I discovered that. I'm not sure Shelley's aware of that. So again, thank you. The sequencer carried on working. We found multiple Barth patients. And so in the early years in the 2000s, I met two women who were going to be formative in my medical life. The first of them, Shelley. I just can't express my admiration enough for the work that she's done with this disease. It's so tragic that she lost both of her boys to it, but she's an amazing ambassador. If any of you ever want to see how you should run a conference for a rare disease, which is a combined clinic, a scientific meeting, medical meeting, covering all of the aspects, psychological aspects, social aspects, feeding aspects, etc., please go to the Barth Syndrome Foundation meeting. I don't think it's possible to do it better, and I've been to many meetings like that. She's been ably abetted by people like Kate and Steve McCurdy, Matt Tother, scientific director, Lindsay, a superb executive board, the Scientific and Medical Advisory Board as well. Amazing organization, and I thank many of them for their help. And then the person who proposed me for this award is Michaela Damon of the Barth Syndrome Trust in the UK. Again, she's done an amazing job. She's constantly propelled me to start to see patients from outside my area in the clinic, to apply for a national clinic and get funding for that in 2010, to see European patients in those clinics, and then eventually to apply for drug trial work. And I owe that completely to Michaela, and also the fact that clinic has been copied now in many countries across the world and is constantly growing, and that's a wonderful thing to see. It's taken a lot of time, so I thank a lot of colleagues at Bristol Children's Hospital and my University of Bristol for all their support and for allowing me to develop this expertise, and particularly my Barth Syndrome service team. I've got a whole multidisciplinary team. They're fantastic. I have huge admiration for them, and they support me no end. The last thing I want to say is that awards are fine, and I'm very flattered by it, but it's a job only part done. One of my lovely patients from England has just been buried today, having died whilst playing in their bedroom, probably of a rhythm disturbance, which is one of the most feared aspects of this disease. Tragedies like that happen regularly in this disease, and we do not have it beaten. And so we desperately need to do more research, get better at identifying cases, work with charities, organizations like this amazing organization, and drug companies to get better at beating these diseases. We desperately need that. And so I thank you for all the marvelous work that you're all doing. This is an amazing organization. Please keep it up. Thank you.
Hi again. I am so proud now to be co-presenting this next award to the most deserving. See, this says young lady, but we're practically the same age, so I'm going to call her what she is. She is a strong, kick-ass, amazing woman, Claire Wineland. Yes, please. Claire is another champion of hope who is being recognized for her incredible efforts to help support and raise awareness for other young adults affected by cystic fibrosis and other debilitating diseases. Claire is somehow only 19 years old and was born with cystic fibrosis. In her short life, Claire has undergone more than 20 surgeries and has spent months at a time in the hospital. She survived months in a coma on mechanical ventilation, and she has 40% of ideal lung function, and the doctors have estimated 2 years left to live. This is not, however, what characterizes or defines her. Claire has dedicated her life work to making a difference in the lives of others living with cystic fibrosis. When Claire was only 14 years old, she founded Claire's Place Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization designed to help children and families affected by cystic fibrosis. Claire wants other families to experience and benefit from the kind of support that she received and continues to get. This is her motivation for the foundation. Claire's experiences have catapulted her into a position of being an advocate and in being an inspirational model for people living with cystic fibrosis. Claire's Place Foundation is making a huge impact through its two programs, the Extended Hospital Stay Fund and the Family Support Program. For the Extended Stay Program, the foundation has set up a special cache of funds available to families with children that are experiencing a hospital stay of at least 14 consecutive days. Extended stays are a financial stress, and often the children are in a city that's far away from what they call home. The Family Support Program connects families living with fibrosis through social media to share their experience, strength, and hope with newly diagnosed or isolated families looking for support. In fact, cystic fibrosis patients cannot be in the same room with another due to cross-infection, which makes video and social media so powerful to these families. Earlier this year, Claire was named one of 17 Magazine's Power Teens of 2016. Claire is one of just 17 teens featured in the issue for making a real difference in the world right now. Yes. The editors of 17 Magazine feature Claire as the lifesaver. The article highlights the Clarity Project, her vehicle for connecting with other young cystic patients, bringing them support and some needed humor to hospital stays. She has a very moving TED Talk and speaks freely and realistically about living with a life-limiting condition. She has been an inspiration to many. Claire is a true champion of hope in every way. I would now like to turn this presentation over to a very special friend of Claire's who wanted to personally congratulate her for this honor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Justin Baldoni. Some of you may know me from a little show called Jane the Virgin. And others might know me from a documentary series I created a few years ago called My Last Days, where I travel the country in search of amazing individuals who are living with a terminal illness and in many cases a rare disease. And through their illness are teaching all of us what it means to really be alive and how to live. And I'm so honored and happy to be a part of the Global Genes tribute to the Champions of Hope. And especially honored to honor my dear friend and inspiration, Claire Wineland. And when Global Genes first asked me to be a part of this, I jumped at the chance. But unfortunately, I can't be here because I'm shooting Jane the Virgin. I'm actually on the Marbella the set of the Marbella right now. And the reason I wanted to be a part of this is because it's so similar to our mission at my company Wayfair and our work in My Last Days to what you guys are doing with Global Genes, and that is we are honoring, and you are honoring the real superheroes, those people living with rare diseases that never give up and teach us all how to live. So with that, Claire Wineland. What can I say about Claire Wineland except that this is a girl that changed my life? Look, Claire is a living poet. She's Rumi re-embodied in a feisty 19 or 20-year-old girl who weighs less than 100 pounds. She's got more spirit than anyone I've ever met. Anybody that meets her, it's almost like Claire, you know, they say that one candle can light 1,000. Well, Claire is a candle and she lights millions. Everywhere she goes, it's like she instantly transfers her energy to the person she's with. You never know when she's in pain. You never know when she's hurting because she's always just so filled with life and love and knowledge. You spend 5 minutes with Claire, you'll learn something. You walk away, you think about it for 5 more hours. She's that powerful. So Claire, I want to thank you as your pretend older brother, as your friend, and as somebody who's been so lucky to spend time with you, to learn from you, to receive from you, and I just feel so grateful to even in this lifetime have had the chance to know you and to meet you and to call you a friend. So I love you and I'm so proud of you. And I know that this is just the beginning of so many amazing, amazing things. And I've been telling you that from the beginning. So many amazing things are coming. And that's why I believe that God's keeping you here for a lot longer than you first thought you were going to be. So congratulations. I'm honored to present you with the Champion of Hope Award. And thank you for inspiring all of us.
Oh, thank you, Justin. Without further ado, please help me welcome to the stage our 2017 Rare Champion of Hope Rare Disease Awareness honoree, Claire Wineland. Come on up here.
Wow, that was an intro. I feel like anything I say now is not going to be that special because of that intro. I also am nervous because everyone else who has come up here has notes. And as my mom knows, I have an irrational hatred of notes. So I'm going to try and do this and not blabber on for hours because, again, those who know me know that I am a professional blabberer. So, what can I say? I mean, I think when we started the Claire's Place Foundation, I was 13 years old. And I had just survived a life-threatening coma with a 1% chance of surviving. And when we came out of that experience, we had a really profound understanding that the only reason I made it out of that, and the only reason my mom and my dad were able to make it through, is because of the tremendous support that we had from friends and from family. And I'm sure that everyone here knows and understands what resources and financial and emotional support do when you are going through something like that. So we decided to do something about that and to be able to give that kind of support to other families who are going through what we went through. And what's so crazy to me is that I have so many memories of growing up with CF and knowing that my mom had to miss work to be able to be there with me and miss out on life opportunities, and the feeling of wanting to do something so bad to help the people who have been there for you, and wanting so badly to give back to them after years and years of them giving everything to you. And that's what I get to do with the Clear Space Foundation. I get to give that to other parents and other families. So I think, you know, I guess I just want to say how much of an honor this is to be able to be here with a room full of people who completely understand why we do what we do. Because the thing is, no matter how huge the burden gets, no matter how big the suffering is, no matter how hard it is to handle this disease that you have no idea why it was bestowed upon you or how isolating it can be, the whole point of humanity is that no one ever has to suffer alone. And that's the beautiful part of humanity, is that we don't have to suffer alone. We get to go through this experience of life, no matter how beautiful or how painful or how strange it is, because it's very strange. Again, I'm sure everyone here can attest to how strange life can be, and how confusing and how overwhelming. But we get to go through that experience. We get to learn from that experience, and then we get to give from that experience. And that's why we're all here. And that's why we're slowly chipping away at the burden of rare disease. Because it means that the generation that comes after us, the generation that comes after me, which isn't gonna be for a while because I'm only 20, has less of a burden to carry on their shoulders, feels just a little bit less alone, has just this much more support. So I'm so honored to be here in a room full of people that are doing the same thing, and I am gonna keep it short and sweet and just say thank you. And then on top of it, just to top it off, I wanna thank my mother, because she is not only the entire reason that I do what I do, to be able to give back to people that I know are going through the same thing she is, but she is also the heart and soul and fire engine behind the foundation and behind who I am as a person. And my ability to be able to handle my illness with any sort of grace, if I ever have any, is because of my mother. So thank you, Mama. And thank you all, and keep up the good work.
Please welcome Matthew Patterson of Audentes Therapeutics, Tracy Houghton of Noah's Hope, Hope for Bridget Foundation, and Kim Mooney of Ultragenics, presenting the Rare Champion of Hope Legacy and Advocacy Award.
That was funny. As I was strolling up here, I was wondering, is someone introducing me, or should I just go for it? But, look, it's my sincere pleasure to be here this evening with all of you and so many wonderful friends. Champion of Hope, I was thinking about it as I was traveling to the meeting, and it's really three incredibly powerful words. And as I think about it, it's really hard for me to think of someone that I've worked with and know in my life who's more deserving of that recognition than my friend and colleague, Barbara Wubbles, who Barbara's spent her entire life, whether as a nurse or at companies, working on behalf of others. And so it's a great honor to be here on her behalf tonight. I've had the good fortune of working my entire career in companies focused on developing treatments for rare diseases, and over that time I've become incredibly passionate about the importance of patient advocacy, the importance of learning from and communicating with the community of people that we hope to help. And it's something that just drives me in all of the work that I do and what I wanted my company to do. I had the good fortune at the end of 2012 to found Audentes and hope develop gene therapy products for patients with rare diseases. Now, when you start a company, especially in biotech, there's a few basic things that you have to decide, right? It's what science you're going to pursue, what diseases you hope to help. But maybe the most important is what type of organization do you want to be? And for me, it was really, really important that we were a patient-focused organization every day that we did our work. You see it in the name, Audentes, sort of a unique name. It's a Latin word, it means those who have courage, those who have boldness or daring. And that's because I wanted to set the tone right away, that courage and the patients that I've met over the years and their families are the core of our mission and what we want to be. And so it started with the name, and then it led to who are the people I need to be successful, to not just communicate with the communities that we work with, but also to make sure internally that we maintain that mindset of a patient focus in everything we do. And so I thought of Barb. I decided to put the company in California, and she was working at BioMarin at the time, and we'd been friends for some time. And luckily I reached out and she was interested, which was great. And we had a wonderful dialogue about it. I ended up, I think we got to a final decision when we went to dinner, and I may have purchased her an extremely expensive glass of Pinot Noir. I also had one, let's be fair. But she agreed to join, and she was the third employee at the company. I was the first. We had a scientist, and then Barb, Vice President of Patient Advocacy. The company's grown very well, and we're on the cusp, I hope, of truly helping some of the patients that we've been desperately working on behalf of for some time. 140 people now and multiple programs, and Barb's been there every day, every step of the way, doing exactly what I hoped and then some, making sure that people were comfortable with us as a company, that we knew how to work well with them, but also keeping us all in line internally at the company, that we had our focus and had our heads straight, and we're always thinking of the people that we hope to help. So I can't say how much I appreciate, Barbara, all the work you've done. I ran into Barb. She didn't know I was coming. I ran into her in the back of the room, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" Barb, I'm here because of you, and I wanted to be a part of honoring you this evening. So thank you for everything you've done for not just Audentes and me, but all the many lives that you've touched over the years. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tracy Van Houten.
Thank you, Matt. I'm Tracy Van Houten. Been up here before, but father to 2 children with a rare disease, CLN2 Batten disease. My daughter Lane is affected, as well as my son Noah, who passed away last year. In addition, I'm president and co-founder of the Noah's Hope for Bridget Research Foundation and former board member of the Batten Disease Support and Research Association. When I think back and think about Barbara, there's not too many times in one's life where you get the opportunity to honor someone such as we are this evening, someone who's had such an impact on so many. Barbara and I met soon after my children Noah and Lane were diagnosed with Batten disease back in 2010, and in her patient advocacy role at BioMarin, Barbara helped lead the early patient interactions as the company sought to understand the impact and burden of the disease, and help translate this information into a meaningful clinical trial for CLN2 Batten disease. This early interaction recently led to the first approved therapy for any form of Batten disease in April this year, and Barbara was an extremely important part of that approval. When Barbara moved from BioMarin to join Audentes, our Batten disease community was extremely fortunate enough to have Barbara join our board of directors at our national foundation, the Batten Disease Support and Research Association, where Barbara and I served together for 4 years. You can tell how patients and families always came first in the way Barbara leads off every meeting, email, or conversation asking about our kids and our family It is truly something that Barbara lives each and every day of her life. In addition to her traditional patient advocacy role, Barbara has joined many of us in this room and participated in such things as Patient Hill Days in Washington. She's always there to be a mentor and advisor on a host of subjects, and she's now working to educate future patient advocates and ensure that the patient perspective has a seat at the table, front and center, with industry partners now and in the future. I think it's clear that Barbara was meant to be in this space, and she's played a defining role in what patient advocacy means with the biopharma space going forward. Congratulations, Barbara, on this award. Thank you for your years of service and mentorship to myself and to patients around the world. I'd like to now introduce Kim Mooney, Assistant Director of Patient Advocacy for Ultragenyx.
Thank you, Tracy. So we've heard about Barbara's impact on both the rare disease community and industry. She's also had a tremendous influence on others in the growing field of patient advocacy. Barbara, along with Jane Gershkowitz and Jean Campbell, founded PPALS, the Professional Patient Advocates in Life Sciences, a nonprofit organization committed to supporting the function of patient advocacy within the biotech and pharmaceutical industries. PPALS represents and supports and encourages individuals to achieve the goal of improving the lives of their respective patient communities through a certified educational framework. The formation of this organization was a natural progression of Barbara's nursing and networking skills. She knows almost everyone in the rare disease space and travels nonstop to introduce and connect people with similar experiences to support their growth and development. Barbara has been a strong supporter of Nicole and Global Genes since its inception. She's a dedicated, passionate, and trusted advocate and advisor. And like so many others in this room, she's been my mentor for the past 7 years. I can't thank Barbara enough for all of the times that she has provided guidance, advice, reassurance, and encouragement to me both personally and professionally. I'm so proud to call Barbara my friend, and I'm pleased that 2 of her daughters, Meg and Molly, are here today to recognize this achievement. Matt, Tracy, and I are honored to invite Barbara Wubbles to the stage to accept this most deserving recognition as the 2017 Rare Champion of Hope Legacy of Advocacy.
Well, I have to say they got me on this one. And now I just found out that my daughter Molly is here too. I'm blown away. It's an awesome experience to be honored by my peers. And I've been working in the rare disease space for about 20 years. And I always tell people that are new to the space, think twice before you get into it, because it's like crack cocaine. You'll never leave it alone. Once you're here for your lifetime. And I have had an enormous amount of experiences. I've met so many people all over the world. And I've had the opportunity to work with so many families and patients through the years that it's really, I can't tell you what a gratifying experience it is. I'm especially thankful to Matt for having the faith and hiring me at the start of his company and for setting the company culture to make it patient advocacy focused, because I don't think that there's too many companies that have their patient advocacy person in their first couple of hires. And we're almost 4 years old now, and we started 4 years ago with 4 of us at the table. And now we're getting ready to launch a clinical trial. So it's been a fabulous journey with Audentes. I had a wonderful journey with BioMarin and with Eucyclid. And Jean and Jane and I started PPALS 4 years ago, and that's taken us to the next step in making patient advocacy a recognized profession. And that's very gratifying to us. We met 20 years ago at an ORD corporate council meeting and have been fast friends ever since. So thank you, all of you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kim. Kim is my special child of my heart. Thank you, Tracy. I love the Battens community so much. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, please help me welcome to the stage American actress, one of my favorites, one of my favorite binge-worthy shows out there. Actress Jillian Rose Reed, best known for her role on MTV's Awkward, and the voice of Naomi in Disney series Elena of Avalor. Jillian! Hello, everyone. Okay. I would just like to start by saying what an honor it is to be here in a room full of people who are just so incredible and so inspiring. So you may know me from my roles on MTV's Awkward and, like it was just mentioned, Naomi in Disney Channel's Elena of Avalor. But what many of you might not know is that my brother was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes many years ago and continues to fight and live with its challenges every day. So I'm truly inspired and just motivated by being here with all of you tonight, people who are fighting for treatments and fighting for cures. It really means a lot to me. When Team Global Genes reached out and shared the next honoree story with me, I was just in awe of how courageous and passionate and organized she was, and all in her early teens. I read her story and I learned what she's done in such a short amount of time as a young advocate, and I was even more inspired. This year's Champion of Hope in Teen Advocacy is an individual who took a very difficult and emotional situation and overcome it with grace and perseverance and has inspired so many people along the way. The courageous Taylor Kane lost her father at the age of 5 to a rare hereditary neurological disease called ALD. Ever since elementary school, Taylor's goal has been to raise awareness for ALD, money for ALD research, and her ultimate goal to find a cure for this devastating disease. Taylor has accomplished more as a young activist than many people do in a lifetime. She is such an inspiration to me, and I'm sure she will be to all of you. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Taylor. At a young age, she became the leader of Run for ALD's youth volunteer group. She speaks often before groups of all sizes, including medical conferences and fundraising events. She frequently spends her time visiting children with ALD. She participates in bone marrow drives, and she is a published author of a memoir about how ALD has affected her family. When a newborn screening test was developed for ALD, which would enable early diagnosis and a chance for a cure, Taylor successfully lobbied the New Jersey state legislature in 2012 to introduce a bill requiring newborns be screened for ALD. She testified both before the New Jersey Senate and Assembly in support of this bill and presented the bill to Governor Christie, who signed the bill into law in 2013. Yes. As a direct result of Taylor's efforts in initiating and advocating for this life-saving legislation, New Jersey became the 3rd state in the US to enact a law requiring newborn screening for ALD. On a federal level, Taylor also testified before the Secretary of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. in support of the addition of ALD to the recommended uniform screening panel. ALD was added to the RUSP in February 2016. After learning that she herself was a carrier of ALD, Taylor addressed a unique need in the ALD community by founding a support and advocacy group called YAC, Young ALD Carriers, to unify and empower teenage and young adult ALD carriers. YAC currently has members from a number of countries, including the US, Canada, England, France, Spain, and Estonia. This group provides a forum for young carriers to share their experiences, ask questions, provide emotional support, and just have more friends. Taylor has inspired so many others by all of her amazing efforts to turn her father's death into a positive catalyst for change.
She is a true representation of what a champion of hope is. So please help me welcome Taylor Kane to the stage, the 2017 Champion of Hope Teen Advocacy honoree. Thank you so much, Jill. I'm so honored to receive this award for teen advocacy from Global Genes and to be here with all of these amazing rare disease advocates. Even though it was a long time ago, I still remember my father suffering from adrenoleukodystrophy, ALD, when I was just a few years old. After his diagnosis, he went pretty quickly from being a dad who went to work every day, who would dress up as Santa Claus, and who would catch me at the bottom of the slide, to being completely bedridden and unable to swallow, talk, or even understand much of what was going on around him. He was in that condition for a little more than 2 years in a hospital bed in our dining room until he passed away when I was 5 years old. By the time I was around 9, I understood a little bit more about ALD and that it could be successfully treated by stem cell transplant if it was to be diagnosed early. And I became determined to do everything I could to raise awareness of ALD and money for ALD research. I felt that this would be the best way to honor my dad's memory, and I wanted to make him proud. So I did whatever I could to try to achieve this goal. I gave a speech about ALD to hundreds of kids and their parents at my 4th grade graduation. I wrote an autobiographical article about my dad and my family's experience with ALD in 7th grade, which ended up being published in a local magazine. I visited boys with ALD. I did television and radio interviews, literally anything I could think of to make sure people knew about ALD and help raise funds for research to try to find a cure. So over the next few years, the money we raised went to scientists and researchers who were working on developing a newborn screening test for ALD so it could be detected when treatment would be most effective. So as Jill mentioned, I testified in front of the New Jersey Assembly and Senate in support of the ALD newborn screening bill. And I also went to Governor Christie's town hall. I was able to speak to him about the bill, and I gave him a booklet of materials that I made, which demonstrated the effectiveness of the test, and he promised me he would sign it into law. And not after long, he did, and New Jersey became the 3rd state in the nation to enact an ALD newborn screening law. So the reason that I'm telling you all of this, and I'm so glad that Global Genes includes teen advocacy as one of its award categories, is because my experiences have taught me that anyone can truly make a difference. You don't have to have a lot of money, you don't have to be famous, you don't have to have connections, you don't even have to be old enough to drive. You just have to have a desire to help. And there are so many advocates here tonight, both young and old, well, older, who have the desire and who are making extraordinary differences in the lives of people with rare diseases and their families. And I'm so inspired to be here with all of you. So before I end, I would just like to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing now to try to continue to advocate for the rare disease community. So ALD is one of the many X-linked recessive diseases which primarily affects males and where many females are typically thought of as just carriers. But after learning that I was an ALD carrier, I found out that, as with all X-linked diseases, there is a 50-50 chance that any children I have will inherit the defective gene, which is pretty scary. I also found out that, contrary to conventional wisdom, recent research has shown that more than 50% of female carriers aren't unaffected, but that they themselves eventually develop symptoms of ALD, sometimes severe and disabling ones. So around 2 years ago, I started an online support group called YAC, Young ALD Carriers. So the goal of YAC is to unite, educate, and empower teenage and young adult female carriers, and today, we nearly have 100 members. So we support one another, we discuss issues relating to reproductive options, physical symptoms, and potential new treatments. And last year, I produced a video consisting of interviews of some of the ALD carriers to give them a voice. So finally, earlier this year, I discovered that, like ALD, female carriers of many other rare X-linked diseases like hemophilia, certain types of muscular dystrophy, and X-linked Alport syndrome, for example, are also basically thought of as just carriers, despite the fact that there is evidence that a number of them may develop physical symptoms as well. Also like ALD, with many of these rare X-linked diseases, there hasn't been hasn't been much research specifically directed at female carriers, and many women and their doctors don't even realize that they can develop symptoms, much less know to monitor them so they can be treated early. To raise awareness of this fact, as well as the great need for medical research and studies focusing on females who carry X-linked diseases, I recently founded my own nonprofit called Remember the Girls, which I plan to put a lot of work into over the next few years and hopefully raise awareness and advocate for increased attention to both the physical and emotional issues faced by female carriers. So anyway, thank you to my mom for all your support over the years. Thank you to Nicole Boyce and Global Genes for this incredible honor. And Daddy, I know you're up there smiling, and I hope I can continue to make you proud.
Please help me welcome to the stage Rob Brainin of Wuxi Next Code to present the Rare Champion of Hope Science Award.
It's always darkest before the
The next awardee is my own personal champion of hope because my daughter has NF2, a rare genetic condition which is part of a family of conditions collectively called NF. While they're genetically distinct diseases, the common element is that there's a loss of a tumor suppressor function, which ultimately leads tumors to form. The manifestations vary by patient and disease type, but ultimately tumors form that can impair cranial and muscular function, cause physical disfigurement, and severe pain. Ultimately, these tumors can become malignant, leading to death, all with no known cure. And while there's no cure, there is hope. And as the parent of an 8-year-old daughter who's had 8 surgeries in the past 2.5 years, sometimes all you have is hope. And that hope needs a champion. I'm also a chief operating officer, so I'm an analytical business guy. And in business, we have a phrase that says, hope is not a strategy. And this is particularly true in the rare disease world, where you need science to advance things and to help to develop cures. And that's where our next awardee comes in. Annette Bacher is the president and chief scientific officer of the Children's Tumor Foundation, a 501c3 focused on driving research and cures for NF. I should mention I'm on the board of that foundation. Prior to joining CTF, Annette led research teams in both academia and pharmaceutical companies across the US and Europe. And while she was doing that, she grew frustrated because she saw the path of taking these great scientific discoveries made in basic research. They hit a bumpy and inefficient road that didn't always necessarily translate into great clinical benefit, and she wanted to do something about it. She joined to lead CTF to try to smooth that path for NF, and she's well on her way. She's done a lot of great things on behalf of the foundation, and those great things have 2 common elements. One, she's brought together disparate people from different places that otherwise might not have talked, and then she's encouraged them to think differently. And so while hope is not a strategy, for CTF, that's okay because Annette has a strategy. She's leveraged her experience in the pharmaceutical industry to think about and understand what is it that companies would need to be able to develop drugs to address the conditions that NF causes. And one by one, she's systematically gone about addressing them. An NF registry to identify patients. She built a biobank so there were tissue samples. A robust research agenda and a push toward a biomarker program so we knew which targets to go after. And while all these things are good, these are common elements of many rare disease foundation playbooks. But she didn't stop there. She created her own unique and innovative business model that spawned a project called Synodos that brought together people from all different places, the top researchers, clinicians, and other stakeholders, and had them come together with some unique rules to get funding. Number 1, you had to share your data with each other openly and immediately, and then ultimately publicly after a short embargo period. This was a paradigm shift for a lot of these people, but they came in and they did it, and it's actually already made a difference. For one of the tumor types, there's a therapeutic that's in clinical trials that's showing great success and promise, a MEK inhibitor. She's now in the process of bundling all these elements together into a coherent data set to take to pharma, in hopes that by bringing these together in one coherent package, it makes it easier for them to want to develop different drugs and gene therapies. So Matt from Our Dentist, if you're out there, she's put it together, and find her later so we can talk about how to do that for NF. And I apologize for that shameless plug on behalf of the NF family, but we really do within the NF community think of ourselves as a family, as I know many of you do here with your own rare disease communities. And you know, like a family, we didn't always choose each other. The disease chose us and brought us together. Like a family, we pull together in tough times and help each other get through it. And I can say on behalf of the NF community that as a family, we're so glad that Annette is the head of our household. So Annette, thank you for being my personal champion of hope. And it's my pleasure to present to you the 2017 Global Genes Award for Science.
Wow, this is difficult to come after. So if you're wondering where I'm coming from, I'm only going to tell you that tonight I'm very honored that we have the Consul General from Belgium with us. Thank you for joining us. So first of all, thank you, Rob, for these two kind words. And on behalf of the Children's Tumor Foundation family, I'm extremely honored and humbled, honestly, to receive this incredible award today. It's so meaningful to receive this from an organization as Global Genes, because what I can see is that you guys are master connectors, creative minds, out-of-the-box thinkers, people that are committed to make this world a better place for patients that are struggling with rare disease. The reason why I'm also particularly humbled is because there's so many people that are doing great things. And I just want to stand out, give you a few examples. If we think about Congressman Henry Waxman, who is the mastermind behind the Orphan Drug Act. Michelle Goldman, who was the first executive director of the Innovative Medicines Initiative, and he got pharma together to talk and to work together. Nancy Goodman, who secured the Race for Children's Act, and former Vice President Biden, who is the mastermind behind the Cancer Moonshot. And I can go on and on. And if we ask, what do these people have in common? I can tell you that these people are And what? It's a funny word, right? Unafraid, unstoppable, untraditional, unconventional, driven by a dream, committed to make this world a better place. They do not accept the status quo. They do something about it. And I think tonight, this room is full of uns. We're all uns. We all have un in our gene. And I can tell you, I have un in my gene. Let me just give you one example, or two examples. My father's father was a captain of a commercial ship. And during the Second World War, he saved 400 people from a torpedoed passenger ship. My parents, my mother's parents, during the Second War, they hid Jew families in their house. And during the night, my grandfather would drive these families over the border to give them a safer place. And my own father, at the age of 19, during that same war, was part of the resistance. And even after being caught by the SS, and I'm sure he was tortured, he ran to Belgium and kept going with the same energy. So I feel I have no choice than keeping that un in my family. I know that nothing was too big or too evil to fight, and I'm proud of them. They're unafraid, they were unstoppable, unconventional, simply un in their approach. This spirit, this fight, what is right, is what I see also in the rare disease community. And I loved your comment before about crack cocaine, because these people are truly inspiring. Because when I hear our ambassador Bailey say, I have an F, but an F doesn't have me, or our little writer who became blind because of the complications of an F, and he painted a sunset, and he said, this is how I remember sunset. Or Jeff Hansen, who's legally blind and an amazing painter, and I can go on and on. All these NF patients are my heroes. All these NF patients and all the rare disease patients, deserve an UN approach. So what is so UN about the Children's Tumor Foundation? What is so untraditional? And as Rob indeed alluded to, we are committed because we believe that if you can connect the unconnected, the path to treatments is so much shorter. Unconnected? Yes, unconnected. Let me give you 2 examples. The first one is, in a normal traditional community, the patients are relatively unconnected. They're asked to watch and wait until the research and the clinical community comes up with a solution. In the Children's Tumor Foundation family, the patients do not watch and wait. They drive the research agenda, they share their manifestations through the registry, and they've built amazing support communities, and they even donate their tissue now to fasten research. They're real advocates for themselves and their children. And our research community has the same mindset. In a traditional research community, scientists are at risk of being relatively unconnected. You have basic science, translational science, clinical science, the people from the pharmaceutical industry, and academia, they operate rather unconnected. And because of that, a lot of information gets lost, and information flows really slow while the patients wait. In our untraditional CTF model, we broke the walls. And as Rob alluded to, synodos. Synodos means in harmony on the same path. We expect basic preclinical and clinical researchers work together with the patients. The patients are in the room. And as Rob said, they share their data immediately. Not after publication, but the data comes from the lab into the data hub. The data is open. Scientists work together. Patients are partner so that we always stay focused on what matters most. And the Children's Tumor Foundation helps keeping the team together. It is the power of an unbelievable team, and our community believes in it. Thank you for this wonderful honor, and let me infect you, never accept the status quo. Choose the UN in your approach.
I got so caught up being inspired that I missed my cue. I apologize. Oh, wow, okay. Now, please help me welcome to the stage 2016 Rare Champion of Hope Collaborations and Advocacy honoree, Kelly Ranallo of Turner Syndrome Global Alliance.
Thank you. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since I was standing up here last year. I just want to say, as I look around the room, it's obvious to me that we as parents often find ourselves as the strongest and sometimes the only advocate for our children with rare diseases. Sometimes, and it often seems like it's endless and exhausting. And I think sometimes we wonder how we're going to make it through the day, let alone the week or the years to come. But I think one of the things that I love most about attending the Global Genes Conference every year is, in between all of the amazing sessions that the staff puts on, is to hear the stories and the successes of those individuals that choose to not only advocate for their own child, but to take it upon themselves to advocate for other children and other families that will join in their journey. Many times dedicating their own time, energy, and even their own money to launch young advocacy organizations. So tonight, it's my true honor to share one of these stories with you. Ms. Ann Lahr, parent of a daughter who lives with 22q11 deletion syndrome, has been a game changer for families affected by this condition. With the creation of 22q Ireland, this honoree has helped empower and support parent advocates, build international and family support conferences, coordinate fundraising efforts, collaborate with international researchers and clinical experts, and has taken on the task of helping create a coordinated care program for children with the 22q. What started as an effort connecting 3 families has now grown to evolve and include over 170 families who have become activated and empowered to join her efforts. Anne was involved in developing a business plan which has been submitted to the Irish Health Service that places a model of care for 22q in the context of rare chromosomal disorders, expanding support for many related disorders. In Anne's vision, this multidisciplinary approach to care will gradually extend to all rare chromosomal disorders. In addition, the outcome of her efforts and her proactive approach, the 22q Ireland support group, there are now several Irish research projects underway. And finally, in her spare time, although I don't know that she has much of it, Anne sits on the Irish Rare Disease Task Force and was instrumental in the development of the National Plan for Rare Disease in Ireland. She also has broadened her advocacy efforts to include working towards changes in the Irish health system and is on the steering group with the Irish Department of Health and the HSE. Anne's motto, different, not less, has become a powerful statement that has shaped the efforts for her disease community. Anne strives for equity in all things, especially for greater ease to access for health, educational, and social care areas for children with rare conditions. Anne has emerged as a true leader in Ireland to support rare diseases and as a true champion that inspires all of us. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And that statement continues to be incredibly relevant for the Champion of Hope Awards, Anne Lawler, and all of the honorees here tonight. It is now with a great pleasure that I invite to the stage this year's Champion of Hope in International Advocacy, Anne Lawler.
Thank you, Kelly. I can't believe that Kelly got all of that from a conversation with me just a couple of hours ago. I feel so privileged to be here. I'm still pinching myself that I'm here. I arrived from Dublin late last night, very jet-lagged, and I'm glad I don't have to do this then, and I have had some sleep. 22q deletion syndrome. People will say, "What's that? I've never heard of it." That's a familiar story to you. It's a familiar story to us all. People don't know our diseases, so we advocate. And advocacy, I have to say, is not for the faint-hearted. It's tough. 22q deletion syndrome is under-recognized. It's not a visible condition. Our children, I think, are heroes. They grow up in a world that doesn't understand them. Sometimes we as parents don't understand them. Diagnosis can be very late. It's tough on them. So they're heroes. They're my heroes. My daughter is my hero. She was diagnosed at 15. We had no help, no support. There was no internet. There was no connection. There was no global genes. Well, not that I knew of to turn to. There was no easy access to internet, so to connect. So, and I wanted families not to have the difficulties and the challenges, to face them alone, to get away from that isolation and the feeling of loneliness. I'd like to thank Dr. Helen Malone and Trinity College in Dublin for nominating me. And I'd like to thank Global Genes for picking me. There were so many people that could have been picked. There's so many people who are active in the 22q community worldwide, that, you know, they've been in it a lot longer than I have. This is our 10th year in existence, and I have to share some really good news with you. This morning I got a phone call from Ireland to say that 22q Ireland we were shortlisted for a GSK Health Impact Award, and I got a call today to say we've won. So I go back home to get prepared for another award ceremony on the 22nd of November. Can you believe that? 2211. And we get €10,000. And to me, that's like 10 million. Because I can do so much with that. We're not funded, we get no government funding. We're a voluntary committee of parents, and all of our work is done through our parents' fundraising. So I'm really pleased, so pleased to be here, and I'm so happy to accept the award on behalf not just of our Irish parents, but the parents all over the world that are dealing with this condition. So thank you.
I'm back. Now, please help me welcome to the stage our 2016 Rare Champion of Hope Advocacy honoree, Gina Zanuck of the Rare and Undiagnosed Network.
Now see, here I am, and I'm crying. Come on, Gina. Okay, so I can do this. I did it last year. I can do it, right? As they said, my name is Gina Zanuck, and I founded RUN, the Rare and Undiagnosed Network. I'm the mother of, this is when I cry, because I think of my kids and I think of what you've gone through. So I am the mother of 3 amazing yet still undiagnosed children, and I am undiagnosed as well. Last year, I was so honored to receive the Champion of Hope and Advocacy Award for my efforts. But I'm even more honored to be here. And I'm so inspired by Penny. And I just met her, so, but this is, you know, I've read about you, I've watched everything, and I've cried in my bed over the week just trying to, you're incredible. So now I will read my paper. Penny Howard founded the organization Hope for Harper in 2011 after the diagnosis of her younger daughter, Harper L. Howard, with CDKL5 disorder. Harper started having seizures at 2 weeks old that stole everything from her. Harper was unable to eat by mouth, had no muscle control, along with gastrointestinal and metabolic issues. While mothering 2 children, homeschooling, and all that goes along with caring for a child with severe medical needs, Penny founded Hope for Harper to advocate for the awareness of the rare disorder, CDKL5, and began funding research with Dr. Francis Jensen at the University of Pennsylvania to simply provide those living with this disorder a better quality of life through seizure elimination. As many parent advocates, you will do anything and stop at nothing to help your children. You will research 24 hours a day and weeks at a time to simply find some answers, some help, some support, and some support for your child. In 2013, Penny and her husband, Denny, found a way to stop the seizures for Harper using RSHO. RSHO is a dietary supplement that stands for Real Scientific Hemp Oil. This treatment worked miracles for Harper. She went from having 40+ seizures a day to none. She went from being included to being interactive. She could say yes and no questions, use the digital eye gaze device to speak for her. She was removed from the Failure to Thrive list, made eye contact, and for her family, the biggest accomplishment was the ability after 3 years to finally see Harper's beautiful smile. Harper's success on this dietary supplement guided the direction of research they were funding to look at this option for those with CDKL5 and other disorders where seizures were a symptom. Other families began to follow the success of Harper on the supplement, and because of her, they band together and in 2 years' time changed the laws for seizure supplements in 4 Latin American countries, beginning the first with Brazil. As of today, RSHO is now covered as a prescription drug under the healthcare system in those 4 countries, and thousands of children are able to live a quality of life where before they had none. In 2016, Harper L. Howard sadly passed away from complications with her condition. However, Harper made medical history as Dustin and Penny Howard selflessly donated Harper's brain and living tissue to scientific research as the first ever CDKL5 brain donated to science. Her living tissue is being studied at the Stem Cell Research Laboratory at the University of California, San Diego, with Dr. Allison Moultrie, did I say it right? And her brain is being studied with Dr. Francis Jensen at the University of Pennsylvania in the original project started 6 years ago by Hope for Harper. The research scientists feel that the collaboration efforts of these 2 projects, combined with the nearly 6 years of medical data from Harper's family, will lead to seizure freedom for not only CDKL5 and other rare diseases, but for any disorder that carries with it symptoms of seizures, such as autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and more. Harper's gift is the first of its kind CDKL5 living tissue with an exact matching brain to validate results on finding and research, along with all the actual medical data collected during her lifetime. Harper will provide others with better quality of life while they will live through their disorders. In addition to RSHO advocacy, Penny has become an advocate for various alternative therapies and organ donation. Penny and her daughter Lily have traveled the U.S. sharing their story of life with Harper at various conferences. She has been featured in several major news and print media in Texas and California and various national magazines. Penny has also appeared on Fox News Health Talk with Dr. Manny, based in New York. To help her older daughter deal with the emotional challenges of being a sibling to special needs, she assisted her in bringing her idea of Love Day to life. A day that focuses on what it means to give love, show love, and be loved. And I love that. A day that not centered around an ability or disability or any one particular person or cause. Penny has also assisted Harper's sister Lily to begin publicly sharing her story of what it was like to be the sister of a child with special needs by traveling with her as they shared their story. The family as a whole suffered, but the family as a whole united and moved forward, just as they continue to do to this day. And I am very honored to invite to the stage this year's Champion of Hope and of Advocacy, Penny Howard.
She made me cry. Sorry. As she mentioned, in an effort to better the quality of life for my daughter, my family and I opened up our lives to the world through hopeforharper.com. Thanks to social media, we were able to share our journey through the life of special needs with millions. And I am very humbled at the thought of my daughter's story, just to see how much of an impact it has made on so many. And I thank you for the recognition for the choices that we made in Harper's life and in Harper's legacy. As she mentioned, Harper was born in 2010 and started having seizures at 2 weeks old. And those seizures stole her from us. She couldn't walk, talk, eat by mouth. She was trapped inside a body that was broken and would remain broken for her lifetime. At 9 months old, she was diagnosed with CDKL5 disorder. That is a rare, non-hereditary genetic disorder that comes with a multitude of debilitating symptoms, including uncontrollable seizures. And the worst part of all of it, as many of you know, is hearing the words "no known cure." From that point forward, we tried to learn as much as we could about CDKL5. We traveled the US in search of ways to improve Harper's quality of life. We eventually realized that there was no magical place that was going to make this life better. There was no place that would make it normal. We were walking a very fine line of hope and hopelessness. But when Harper was 3, we stumbled upon this dietary supplement called RSHO, or Real Scientific Hemp Oil. RSHO allowed Harper to achieve the seizure control that we had so desperately searched for. This is when we got to see Harper start to live a life instead of simply existing in life. She was removed from the Failure to Thrive list. She got better sleep at night. She became more vocal. She maintained eye contact. She had increased interactions with those around her. She had a relationship with us and her siblings. She smiled purposefully, and she answered to yes, no questions with the head nod. She started living life. And this is when we really got to know who Harper Howard was. She liked shiny beads. She liked to laugh when others got in trouble. Her favorite number was 15. Colors were orange and purple. Singer Elvis. She liked zebras and Punky Brewster. She thought the Tooth Fairy should have given her $50. Through all of this that we were learning, we shared our journey on hopeforharper.com and other various social media sites. We were shocked just to see how far her journey would reach by sharing. CDKL5 families in Brazil began to look at the addition of RSHO into their children's lives, but in Brazil, this supplement was illegal. This led the families there to rally together and sue the government for the right to access this treatment, and they won. These families rallied together and sued the government for the right to access viable treatment options, and they won. And in 2 years' time, 4 other countries followed suit. And RSHO is now a viable treatment option for all of their children. Harper's success on RSHO has manipulated the direction of various research projects supported by Hope for Harper to look at CBD oil as a viable option for CDKL5 and other seizure-related disorders. But you see, this was just the beginning of one piece of Harper's journey. And as she mentioned, sadly, despite our ability to find seizure control for Harper, she ended up losing her battle with CDKL5. Her life ended, but her legacy began. Harper became the first ever CDKL5 organ donor. Harper's brain is now being used in the originally funded project at the University of Pennsylvania, and her living tissue that I held in my hand is at the University of San Diego, California. The two scientists are collaborating together, and they do believe that she's provided the key to provide better qualities of life for a multitude of disorders, as previously mentioned. See, Harper possessed an inspiring energy. And as we all know, the words of Albert Einstein, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It simply transforms from one form to another. Harper took on a new form, a form in the name of science. And her story will live forever. She's made medical history as the first ever CDKL5 brain donation. Her success on CBD has impacted research that she is a part of. And it has impacted other countries in the fight for access to viable seizure control options. Harper's existence, her mere existence, has made me a better person and a better mother. She's gifted her siblings with compassion for others at a very early age. And she has inspired many to simply just keep moving forward in life and choose to be happy in the most difficult of times. Harper Howard found her purpose because hope was in her genes. Thank you.
Okay. I'm okay, it's fine. Please help me welcome to the stage Kendall James of Global Genes and Jim O'Hare, best known for his role as Jerry Gurich on NBC's Parks and Recreation and longtime supporter of the tuberous sclerosis. Come on, you guys.
It's a little hard to follow, I won't lie. Okay, so my name is Kendall Davis with Global Genes, and I am truly honored to be co-presenting the Champion of Hope Award in Collaborations for Advocacy tonight. Not only because of who is receiving it, but because of what it represents. Collaboration is something that Global Genes knows is critical in advancing the efforts in rare disease, and it is something that is interwoven into our organization's DNA. It is also a term that we use very often in this community because of how critical and vital it is for individuals and advocacy organizations to drive progress forward in this disease community. We inherently all know this to be true. We all know that collaboration is vital. However, the reality is that collaboration is not always easy and it's not always welcome. True collaboration requires transparency, hard work, patience, and passion. It also requires individuals who can see the larger picture. Our next honoree, Kari Rosebeck, is truly one of these remarkable individuals. After losing her infant daughter, Kari decided to dedicate her life to the tubular sclerosis complex community. She joined the TS Alliance staff in 2001, and her first project was to create the organization's volunteer branch program, called Community Alliances. She spent months traveling across the country to meet with parents and family members and other stakeholders to personally learn of their needs and their hopes for the future. As a result of her efforts and leadership, the TS Alliance currently has 37 community alliances, more than 2,000 volunteers, and presence in all 50 states. Kari then accepted the role as president and CEO of TS Alliance in 2007. During her tenure as president and CEO, the TS Alliance has established a comprehensive research program fostering collaborations with industry, academia, and is moving treatments for TSC forward in a much more expedited way. Because of her leadership, the organization has taken an active role in educating the TS community about clinical trials to diminish the time for recruitment. In the past 7 years, there have been 2 FDA approvals for therapies to combat infantile spasms, the most catastrophic form of epilepsy that up to a third of infants with TSC may experience. There's also been 2 approvals for drugs with TSC indications. As incredible as all of these achievements are, that is not the reason for her award tonight. In 2015, Kari and the TS Alliance made the decision to engage with the Child Neurology Foundation. At the time, the Child Neurology Foundation was coming out of a time where they had historically made it a little bit difficult for organizations to work with them, and they did not historically welcome collaboration. The foundation had an isolationist attitude that served as a barrier to much-needed advocacy initiatives. That mindset and culture dramatically changed when the Child Neurology Foundation added their new executive director, Amy Miller, whose goal was to build a collaborative network of organizations working to combat neurological diseases in children. Amy looked to the community for a leader that could help her usher in this new mindset and move forward, knowing that there was a lot of work to do, and she found that leadership in Kari. Regardless of the history with CNF, Kari gave Amy the time and listened to what she had to say. She then became the voice of change and collaboration within the infantile spasms community, and in helping bring this collaboration forward in 2015. In 2015, Kari, TS Alliance, and the Child Neurology Foundation co-hosted Infantile Spasms Awareness Week with unprecedented results. After seeing the results of this collaboration, 16 other organizations joined the awareness efforts in 2016, and so far this year, there are 23 organizations participating, including advocacy, medical membership societies, and industry partners. Kari has been instrumental in the success of this huge collaborative effort and has emerged as a respected leader within this community of advocates. She continues to forge partnerships, recognizes the importance and synergies of having multiple organizations working together for a common goal. She truly understands that together as a community, we are strong. And now I would like to introduce Jim O'Hare.
Well, hey everybody. I guess most people know me from some TV stuff, some film stuff. Probably most notable, I played Jerry Gergich on a show called Parks and Recreation for a bunch of years. Thank you, thank you. And then, of course, for my adult film work. You know who you are who saw me. You know who you are. I like to mix it up. I have to say, before I even begin this, you know, the written down part, I didn't know this organization existed until today. Well, recently when I was asked to be here. Wow, you people are amazing. When I got involved with you know, the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance, I knew nothing about them, and they're amazing. And to know there's so much out there and there's so many advocates working the different stories, it's going to be I'm going to be reliving a lot of it on the ride home tonight. But anyway, you guys are all heroes, so I just have to say that. So, hello everyone, Jim here. Anyway, as a longtime supporter of tuberous sclerosis, and I am a supporter, I have traveled across the country to raise awareness and funds on behalf of the TSC community. I have served as the host, as the MC and the honorary chair of the Comedy for a Cure in Hollywood, which everybody should go to. It's going to be April 8th, and it's amazing. Tons of celebs. It's a good fundraiser. Go, go, go. Anyway, I appeared in the TS Alliance's play 4 Decades, One Community. We did it on Broadway in New York and Washington, D.C. And I emceed the first Soundbites events in Minneapolis just last year. So that is why when I learned that my dear friend, Kari Rosbach, was going to be honored for her work with tuberous sclerosis, I immediately said yes, because to know Kari is to love Kari immediately. Her hard work in illuminating the model of non-competitive, transparent, and productive collaboration for those affected by tuberous sclerosis is just the beginning of what she has accomplished for many, many families throughout the nation. Kari has dedicated her life to the tuberous sclerosis community and goes out of her way to provide support, encouragement, and hope whenever possible. I have seen it again and again and again. Kari got involved with TS, I'm going to repeat some of the things Kendall said. Kari got involved with TS 15 years ago after the death of her infant daughter. She joined the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance to help start all the volunteer branches across the country, and today they now have over 32 branches from nothing. Mind blown. She has increased funding, developed a clinical research network, advanced the organization's drug screening program, and most importantly, she has provided hope for other parents and families. And I've gotten to know some of these families, and they treasure her. They treasure the work she does, and she has made such a difference in their lives and the lives of their children. And now to go off script here at the very end before I bring her up, Kari was with her father the other day when he passed. And as proud as we are of Kari, I know that right now, Papa Bob is just smiling, and he's going to be right here next to her when she comes up. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the 2017 Rare Champion of Hope, Collaborations and Advocacy, Kari Rosbach.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kendall. What an amazing opportunity to be with all of you tonight. Thank you, Nicole Boyce and Global Genes. You set the standard for collaboration, and I am truly honored to be here. I want to say a little bit about the importance of collaboration. And the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance was founded in 1974 from the original collaboration in our organization. 4 moms who came together to want to make a better life for their children. They put together an organization like many of yours to provide support and information to other families living with tuberous sclerosis complex, to fund and drive research, and to conduct public and professional awareness campaigns to raise the visibility of the disease. Tuberous sclerosis complex, for those of you who don't know, causes tumors to grow throughout the body, is a leading genetic cause of epilepsy and autism, and a leading symptomatic cause of infantile spasms. So you can understand why we have lots of collaborations. We feel this is a linchpin disease, and we are much stronger working with other organizations to raise the profile of the different pieces of our disease to truly improve the lives of all those affected by TSC and by other genetic disorders that share similar characteristics. We've done that in partnership with the Epilepsy Leadership Council, with the American Thoracic Society Public Advisory Roundtable, with our dear friends at the Lamb Foundation, for which we've held regional conferences to educate our patients because they share a lot of similarities, by hosting an international research conference, and in June, an externally led patient-focused drug discovery meeting. It was pretty amazing. And our partnership with the Child Neurology Foundation has really changed my life. This partnership and collaboration was only possible because of the leadership of Amy Miller, and I shouldn't be standing up here. She should. Where are you, Amy? Where are you? There she is. Thank you. As any true collaborator would be, we should be up here together because we have really worked since 2015 together to change the course for any newborn experiencing infantile spasms, regardless of the cause, whether it's a known genetic cause like tuberous sclerosis complex or an unknown cause of infantile spasms. Infantile spasms can happen in clusters, dozens of times a day, hundreds of seizures. And you know what? Kids can be diagnosed, they can be put on appropriate treatment, and in some cases can live a normal life. And that's the power of this collaboration, is that we've made such an amazing impact together. But you know, when you find a good collaborator, they also become an amazing friend. And Jim just shared a story. My dad actually passed away on Wednesday. He was in hospice, and Amy, my dear friend and my co-collaborator, walked me step by step through that process. She is an amazing woman, and I love you, Amy, and you hold a place in my heart forever. My dad died of pulmonary fibrosis, and it was an interstitial pneumonitis, another rare disease, another rare disorder. And I am committed to our community, collaborating with whoever wants to join in collaboration, because together we're going to move mountains. So thank you very much for this incredible honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Natalie Douglas, who will be presenting the award for the 2017 Rare Champion of Hope Innovation.
I was quite comfortable sitting down there. It was a little bit of a surprise. Anyway, I have the great honor of presenting this year's Champion of Hope Award in Innovation to Dr. Milan Patel, investigator at British Columbia Children's Hospital, clinical assistant professor at the Department of Medical Genetics, University of British Columbia, and the founding board member of the Rare Disease Foundation of Canada. Milan Patel, through the Rare Disease Foundation, created a unique, innovative, and groundbreaking program to inspire our next generation of young investigators to focus on rare disease. Through the Rare Disease Foundation and his affiliations with the BC Children's and the University of British Columbia, he seed funds innovative early-stage research, encouraging young investigators to think outside the box, inspiring them to think beyond the standards that the educational and healthcare institutions have trained these individuals to follow. Dr. Patel is being honored for his incredible work and development of the Rare Disease Microgrant Program, where young investigators submit a hypothesis on a research project that includes the science, the layperson's overview, and a budget. And each microgrant is worth $3,500. His approach has raised some eyebrows because it goes against the traditional way of thinking. Milan espouses cross-functional cooperation and information sharing to increase the speed of problem resolution. He has successfully shown that a microgrant can help move early research forward and that patient advocates can participate as early-stage funders. He has developed a program that gives hope both to clinicians, researchers, and to patients and their families. Dr. Patel recognized that the healthcare and major research funding systems are just not set up to allow for rapid innovation or novel approaches. His microgrant program insists upon it. All microgrant awards must directly relate to improving patient care within 12 months in order to qualify for funding. The program has attracted many clinicians as well as researchers to apply for funding wishing to help specific patients in their care. In many cases, microgrant funding from the Rare Disease Foundation acts as the first peer-reviewed funding obtained by some young innovative researchers, which they can then leverage for more substantial funding calls from organizations like the NIH in the US or the CIHR in Canada. With hundreds of grant recipients, Dr. Patel has influenced and helped advance the efforts in rare disease research with his vision and dedication to taking fast-track, inexpensive approaches to research whilst changing the paradigm in support of future cures. For all these reasons, Dr. Milan Patel is being awarded the 2017 Champion of Hope Award for Innovation. He's unable to make it in person, so I will be accepting the award on his behalf. But he sends his gratitude and thanks and wants everyone to know that we all need to stay the course and not be afraid to think differently. I would now like to invite back to the stage our MC, Madison.
Oh, thank you to all of our presenters, and congratulations to all of our 2017 Rare Champion of Hope honorees. Yes. This concludes the Global Genes Rare Champion of Hope Awards, and please, once again, you guys, let's give it up for all of our honorees tonight. Come on. Please join us in the backyard area. We have two of my favorite things, music and food, and I would love to see all of you there. Good night.